I, you know what I like about college?
What?
All right. So, you know how these days people are like, do we need college? College is outdated and it's expensive. We can't do shit
Well,
with
yeah,
our
if you want to
bachelor's degree
work,
anymore
if you want to work, you do. Like for a corporate company,
for a corporate company. But,
kind of.
anything else, if you want to be a self made entrepreneur or sell some shit online or, whatever,
Yeah.
or work for Amazon, you don't really need college, right? And people complain like we spend all this money on tuition and we're not getting anything for a
Yeah, it's
return.
expensive
And in
AF.
reality, they're not wrong. And this is the thing I used to bust your balls about because you went to Pace University. It's a private school. I said, dude, why? Why are you spending so much fucking money there, right? And you're now still to this day paying
Well,
back student
that's because
loans.
I couldn't get anywhere else.
And yeah, that's what's fucking crazy about private schools like St. John's University, Pace. You could be dumb as a bag of bricks, and you can get in. And people are like, "Ooh, like if I worked for a company, right?" And somebody gave me their resume and it said Pace or some private school, I would have been like, "Oh, right, like you paid to have a good name." But I feel like most people don't look at it that way. Or maybe there's like some conspiracy where they have to act like they're impressed. Like, ooh, Pace, even though they know deep down you
Why do you
ain't
think
shit.
it's so expensive?
Because you went to a community college before
Yeah.
and you said it was a lot more challenging than Pace, but it was a lot more
Academically.
cheaper.
Academically is more challenging, but that's not going to get you anywhere.
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing with the United States, right? It's not about what education you're actually getting. It's the name. Everything's about name. Everything you have to know someone, right?
Yeah.
Connections. So the thing with college is this. So people say we don't need college anymore and it's like a waste of money, and whatever. I think that people are right and wrong, right? So they're right in a sense where don't kill yourself over college. Don't spend all this money on tuition and sleeping there, right? Because people get dorms and that costs even more money.
Yeah, but what if you go out of state?
Yeah, exactly. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that. So they should just go to like a local school, like in New York, right? You have a CUNY school. You could go
Yeah.
to a CUNY school.
But
It's
most people go out of state too because they want to party and have that experience.
well, you know what? Then you want to pay. You want to play. Then you got to pay, right?
Well, they do. Their parents pay.
Right. So so don't make excuses and don't cry that college is too expensive and it's a waste of money because you want to go just to have that college experience and to party and all that shit. So I think, like, for instance, I don't know about other states, but in New York, you have a local city school, CUNY. It's cheap. It's cheaper than state schools. It's cheaper than private schools. And you can get an excellent education there, right? As you should.
State school's also cheaper.
Well, I think city schools are cheaper than state schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then if you go out of
Whatever.
state, if you live in New York and you go to
it's
Rutgers
more
in New
expensive.
Jersey, you have to pay more money and vice versa. So you can stay in your lane, as LeVar Ball says. You could stay in your lane, go to the school that's local, that's close, and get an education. And I think an education is very important, man. Like, it exercises your brain. And this one girl, I remember in math class, asked my teacher, she says, oh, sorry, professor, right? Like when you're in college.
Get it right.
Yeah, when you're in college, it's not a teacher, it's a professor, That's why they think they're better than teachers in high school and junior high school. They're like, I'm not a fucking teacher. I'm a professor. I work in a fucking college.
And they get paid more, so
Yeah,
they
like
kinda
a little
are
bit
better.
more, just a little bit more. They have like maybe $50 a week extra or some shit like that.
That's-
I'm not. I'm making it up. Either way.
That's still not bad, $50. So you go to the bar, you get a couple drinks.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so schools are important because the professor said, I'm going to tell you why you need math. Like, she says, why are we doing this? I don't need math. I'm never going to use this. And he says, you're right. And I knew this, but he says, you're right. And this math, it exercises your brain. And me personally, when I went to school, when I went to college, I feel like the experiences I went through and the people I interacted with, it changed the way I think. It opened up my mind more, right?
Yeah.
So, and it changed the way I feel. So I think education is very, very important. However, you just have to be careful with the way you go about it. And one thing college has taught me as well, it's not just sitting in class and like learning shit, right? It's about doing things in order to pass, in order to succeed. I'm going to tell you, for instance, when I was in the Spanish class, right? And I did this to with all my classes, by the way. I would always go up to the professor after and talk to them, right? Befriend them. Because again, that's like in the real world when you're in a career.
You gotta hustle.
Right, you gotta hustle. And when you're working somewhere,
that's
you have
how peso's like.
Yeah, you have to do the same stuff. So I always befriended them, and we built this connection / friendship, if you will, like a student-professor friendship. And, I would always like talk to them and ask for extra help. So they would like set me up with tutors, and they saw that I was really trying, and I would get that, like a little bit more extra credit going to those tutors, and then they really wanted to see me succeed. So they went out of their way to make sure that I passed. Okay. Then there were situations. I took this computer course, and I was lazy. Like, computer class is easy, and it was like a point system. And you know what a point system is?
You get points based on performance?
No. So basically they give you like this outline, and you have to do all these projects, and each project is worth a certain amount of points. And if you do a certain amount of those projects, you get a B or an A or a C, right? Because all those points add up. But that's not enough, because you also have to pass the tests. So I remember it was like, oh man, like school was like almost finished. The semester was almost over, and I was failing the computer class because I was lazy. I didn't do shit. So on the last minute, I was trying to do all the projects, because they're easy to do, but I was running out of time, and I'm like, fuck, because literally I had maybe like 2 hours left, let's say, right? So I was doing it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember this kid that I worked at a restaurant with went to this class a semester before me. So I called him, and I'm like, hey, bro, and at this point I didn't work with him even anymore. So it was like, he was like, why is this guy calling me? I'm like, do you by any chance remember you said you took this computer class last semester? He's like, yeah. And then I'm like, do you by any chance have any of the projects? He says, I think so. I'm like, dude, can you do me a fucking solid and send it to me? I need it for a reference point or some bullshit.
Solid?
So he sends me the projects, and guess what? It's exactly the same projects that were needed to complete, for my class. So all I did is obviously change the name and print it, right, to my name. So yes, I cheated. Actually, should I even be admitting this?
Yeah, it's past that point of, what do you call it? The statute of limitations.
Yeah, whatever. So then I remember on the desktop, I was missing 2 more projects. I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And like I had 10 minutes left to turn everything in. And then I see on the desktop of that computer, because this was in the computer lab, the last 2 projects that I needed were on the desktop. They were ready. Like somebody just left it there by accident.
Wow.
And they forgot to delete it, I guess. So again, I changed the name. I printed it. Bro. Boom. Handed that shit in.
What if that kid got accused of cheating after?
How would he get accused of cheating?
No, because it would be funny. Like if you submitted it, then they's like, oh, you copied it off Michael. But they
he probably submitted it before me.
Yeah.
Either way, listen, it was either get caught cheating or fail. So yeah. I'm going to take a chance.
You got to go down with the ship.
Right. So it's like saying you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? It's kind of like that.
Which is what Jordan said also.
Right, and this is exactly what I did. I took a shot, and I got it in. Another interesting story real quick I'm going to tell you, and this is also important, I feel, about passing classes. I had a criminal justice class. Same thing, point system, right? And I only did enough work to get a C. And you want to make sure
That's all the work you need.
You want to make sure you get an A because it's better for your GPA, right? And the class was fucking boring. The teacher was fucking boring. He actually called me out for dropping his class the next semester. He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, change of plans." I didn't like him as a teacher. Anyway, so the same thing happened, and one of the things I had to do, and again, I was running out of time. I had like 30 minutes left. One of the things I had to do is keep a journal from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester, right? So
journal?
A fucking journal. Right.
Like documenting like your
In my
experience
experience in class and how I feel or what I've learned, all that bullshit. So I wrote like, like 2 pages worth of journal, let's say.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah. I wrote 2 pages worth of, like, I wrote like maybe 4 journals and that took up like 2 pages, right? And then I'm thinking, yo, there's no way this motherfucker's gonna read my journal. Why the fuck would he?
I wouldn't.
Right? I wouldn't either. So I literally end up writing like, Dear Journal, blah, blah, blah. I literally wrote blah, 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 blah. And then maybe like the last page I wrote like legitimate 2 journals. And then I handed that shit in. Yo, guess what? He took it and he accepted it and I got an A.
Wow, I bet you like months later he ended up like accidentally like opening it. He's like, motherfucker.
Imagine.
Wow.
But I'm thinking, yo, I wouldn't read this like my fucking class students' bullshit journal. I would be bored. Why the fuck would I read that? So
that is fucking dumb.
and then basically the reason why I was sharing these experiences is because it's important. You learn skills, like you hustle. You learn how to hustle in order to, it's not just about sitting there and studying. And traditionally you should do that. Traditionally you should sit down, you should study, you should pay attention. But the point that I'm trying to make is that sometimes you learn how to break the rules and take the back door, and these things help you in the real world. What do you mean? They literally told you got to do that?
No, but literally, first of all, I had this one professor. I forgot what class it was, but it was some sort of financial class, business, economics, or whatever type. And this guy was like, he actually worked like in the financial field like during the day, and he was just like an adjunct professor, I guess. So this was like extra pocket money for him, so he didn't really give a shit. And all he was telling us was like stories about experiences. Our final test, we had to do a research on a company, and like I guess recommend if to buy the stock or not. I don't know. I don't remember, some bullshit like that. Literally, it took me like, I did the day of on Yahoo Finance, like minimal effort. And then when I actually went up to present, he actually rushed me. He's like, all right, get to the point. And then he cut me off after, and he just like writes a grade on a postcard, and it was an A. So I got excited, but then everybody got a fucking A.
Right.
And I feel like that's how PACE was. But to your point, yeah, I went to Brookdale. It was very academically challenging. I learned some shit there. I have a professor that it was an English professor. I still remember him to this day, like very inspiring the way he taught. He was a little nuts. And then PACE was a whole different world. It was like, it was all about like how you're going to make it. And, when it came to like an accounting class, or I went to the tutor, and eventually I'm like, listen, if you just do this, I don't really have time. Is there anything I could like do? So that was like my first of like
a business deal.
Yeah, it was a business deal,
What do you mean, like what you can do, like a sexual favor or like pay or?
No, I mean if it was a female, then well, why not? But it was a male, and the favor was monetary, so he accepted it.
What, you paid him?
Yeah.
How much?
It was like $25 to do my homework.
The teacher took $25?
No, he was a student.
Oh, I was about to say.
It was like a student
That's
tutor.
fucking crazy.
Yeah. And then, so, that worked out well. Then there's this other girl that I met in school from PACE. She did we also had poli-sci class. So it was a take-home test, meaning like you answer a bunch of questions, and then the professor will pick 3 random questions, and then since you're prepared for it, you should probably do okay. So what we did was we actually no, I'm sorry, it was that, and she also did it for accounting, and she basically wrote it for me. I copy and pasted, and I got good grades with that. For accounting though, we basically took pictures of the test when we got them. We sent it to her. She did it. So the 2 tests we actually passed because she helped us, and then the 3rd test it fucking bombed and failed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why she fucked us over. We paid on time and everything. And then there's just a bunch of stories like.
But again, this is like the real world. It's like people screw you over on a daily basis, and
Like
you know.
I have a friend who the way he was trying to I don't want to say like cheat, but he was fucking cheating. He had a book where he literally cut out the pages, and then he put his old ass iPhone, which back then was like iPhone 4, because it was like years ago, and he would get, so it's like it was an open book test, but he was actually getting answers. Like I was sending him answers because I had it before. So like
What do
it
you
was
mean?
like
So
a,
this is like cheating.
yeah, but it also taught like it was logistics and distribution. That's what I really got from it.
Dude, that reminds me. We have a buddy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I remember he was selling a little weed on the side, and I'm like, "Bro, you're selling weed?" He's like, "I'm
Oh
not."
yeah, I know this buddy.
Yeah, yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
"I'm not a drug dealer." I'm like, "Since when are you? Did you become a drug dealer?" He's like, "I'm not a drug dealer. People just give me money and I give them weed." I'm like, "That's
He's a
the
con-
definition of being a fucking drug
He's
dealer."
a
What are you talking
contractor.
about? Yeah. So that's what it reminded me of. How you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I didn't cheat, but I cheated."
Yeah, it's like saying you're not an Uber driver, you're an Uber partner, but you're a fucking Uber driver.
Right. No offense.
No offense.
To Uber
I
drivers.
used to do that
Yeah,
shit.
Avi used to do a little Uber back in the day.
A little bit of Uber, a little bit of Lyft.
I think that's the information you choose to omit when you talk to women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now everybody knows if they're watching.
Yeah. Sometimes, well, I was thinking about saying I worked for Uber, but I was like, nah, I don't want to be like a herb like that.
I want to mention also what else I learned in school, in college. I had this theater class, and I had this fucking partner that I couldn't stand. And quite frankly, I think he couldn't stand me either, which is fair. We just didn't like each other. And, I did ask him for a solid, and he came through for me. So my professor made us watch a play. We had to go pay $40 to watch this play that my professor directed. And I was thinking, like, what a ploy just to get ticket sales. What a dick, right? So,
Poor bastard.
I didn't have time, or I forgot, whatever. And there was like only 2 showings or 3 showings, and I missed all of them. So I call my partner, my acting partner. I'm like, "Bro, can you do me a solid?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Can I?" And I think I gave him a little money for that too. But I said, "Can I just like look at your shit and like I'll just make my own version and nobody has to know about it?" He's like, "All right." So he gave it to me. I wrote my own version of it, and I handed it in. And I shit you not, the next class I come in, the professor's like, "Michael." I'm like, "Fuck, man." He's like, "Come to my office." And then I go, and guess who's sitting at the office? My fucking acting partner.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, yo, you fucking snitch. You
snitched on you?
fucking ratted me out.
He didn't snitch on you.
So check this out. And then, there's tension in the room and bad energy.
And
And
you played coy.
I played coy. So my professor tells me, "Sit down." So I sit down. And he says, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" And I'm like, "What?" Right? Because I'm thinking, like, what the fuck's the point of saying, "Yeah, my bad, I cheated on a test," or whatever, on an essay? And he says, I'm like, "What?" He says, "You guys are not getting along and you're not like meeting up to like go over your lines and shit like that." I'm like, "Well, I thought we had a conversation. I'm surprised that, he had told you about it, but we'll." I was just so relieved deep down that I didn't get caught for cheating on that
Wow.
essay, that I was like really like cool about getting snitched on. So like for something else. So I totally like became a lot nicer to my acting partner, and I really made an effort. So you see, I learned something, that day as well. So there's a lot of things you learn. Fundamentals. Is that a word I can use?
Yeah.
There's fundamentals, like, right? Right? I could use that word?
I think you could use it, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good word to
So there's
use.
some fundamentals that you learn. It's not just about sitting on your ass and paying attention. You learn, like, different shit. And these things come useful to you in the real world.
Deny, lie, and cheat.
And I want to share one last experience, which I think is also very important, because this one consists of somebody fucking you over in the higher
man.
authority.
Why does it gotta be the last
You just can't get enough of my fucking stories.
That's
can
why
you?
I'm doing this,
Yeah.
just to watch you live.
So I grew up in. We both grew up in Queens, and I went to Forest Hills High School. And in my senior year, we moved to New Jersey, right? And not just in the beginning of my senior year, in the fucking middle, right?
Oh yeah.
And my parents fucked me over. Check this out. They said they kept changing their minds because they had a problem with the closing or something. They're like, yeah, we're moving, and what you have to do is you have to drop out of school so you can go register into the new school. So I remember my guidance counselor made
parents
it.
fucked you over?
My guidance counselor and I had a deal. He's like, if you pass the Regents exam, the Global History Regents, I'll give you the credit that you failed the class. So he gave me the credit. He gave me a couple
He
more.
was really trying to help you out.
He gave me a couple more gym credits, and then I dropped out. I dropped out in the end of November, and we were supposed to move in the early December to New Jersey. This was back in 2003. Next thing I know, I come home and my parents are like, "Oh yeah, we're not moving till next month." So I was a high school dropout for a month. You know what I mean? It was kind of weird. And then when we moved to Jersey,
Everybody thought you were probably such a badass at that time.
I don't think so. That I honestly, I was actually ashamed of being a high school dropout. If you want to know the truth,
No, it's like you're not going to school. You're chilling.
with chilling, I was working with the parents. I couldn't. They just they
Yeah,
didn't let
actually,
me. They didn't let me stay home.
No, it does kind of sound like shit now that I think about it.
So anyway,
Like not going to college is one thing, but dropping out of high school.
yeah. Anyway, so January we finally moved to Jersey, and I go to high school. I register over there, and now the conversion process it was actually very beneficial to me. It's from moving from people felt sorry for me, like, oh, that sucks. You have to go from New York to New Jersey, But in reality, it was great because most of my credits didn't even count. In New York, it's a lot strict. There's a lot more requirement to graduate. So all those classes I had just turned into elective classes. And if there was like a requirement of 2 years of global history, in this school, it was only 1 year of global history. You know what I'm saying? So no Regents exam. So basically, I was going to graduate on time. And the guidance counselor went over the point system with me, and he promised me that I'm going to get compensated for all these credits. So I'm doing what I have to do, and I'm passing all my classes. And I can't cut school. This is a suburb. In New Jersey, we live in the suburbs.
Strict, yeah.
It's very strict. I couldn't cut school like I did in Queens.
It's like here you shove somebody and you get suspended for a week.
Yeah. It was like a different world. They had pep rallies and jocks. I was like, what the fuck? Like Saved by the Bell, like in reality,
Yeah.
In Queens, we didn't have any of that shit. There was no such thing as the most popular kid in school in Queens. There was no such thing as the nerds. You all thought that was just in a movie. Everybody was pretty much the same. But then when you come to Jersey, it's like that. I'm like,
It's very
damn.
like it's easy to tell. Okay, those are the popular kids and those are the nerds.
Yeah, except in the movies, the jocks were actually like built, and in Jersey, they were like scrawny. And I think it's because in the movies, they pick like adults that are not really teenagers to play these kids. Either way, having said that, so I'm taking all my classes and I passed, and then in the last minute, I failed this one class, right? I failed one class, so that means I had to go to summer.
You were almost always there.
Listen, so that means I had to go to summer school, right? And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go to summer school. I'm going to graduate and that's it. And I'm going to have the summer off before college starts. So I go to my other guidance counselor. There was 2 guidance counselors. It was like my regular one and then the main one that promised me everything. So then I had my other guidance counselor, and I go over the list. I'm like, wait a minute, I never got compensated for this fucking... obviously, I wasn't disrespectful about it. I said, I never got compensated for this class.
Damn, I would have been like...
And he flipped his shit. He says, no, don't give me that bullshit. He says, you should have done better. You should have passed this class. Now you're going to go to summer school. Case closed. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And I'm like trying to argue, like, but he promised me that I'm going to get this credit. What do you mean? He's like, no. I'm like, fuck, that's bullshit. So the next 2 weeks before graduation, I spent time trying to find this guy and telling him that, I should. So I finally found him, and I told him, you promised me. This guy's saying, so finally we all three of us meet, and then he's like, Mike is right. I promised him, and he's graduating on time. He doesn't have to go to summer school. And the other guy goes like, fine. And I don't know what the fuck his problem was. Like, he was such a stickler. It didn't even make sense. The point
He has pleasure putting kids in summer school.
The point is, the reason why I'm even mentioning this story, and I think it's important, and in a way it has something to do with the real world as well, like what we spoke about at college, is that you can't let people push you around. And if something doesn't feel right, you got to do a lot of your own digging and research. And you can't just always trust people all the time. You know what I mean?
True.
I think a lot of people get burned in this world because they trust too much. And people say to me, "Oh, you're too paranoid." I'm glad I'm paranoid. It's not like I'm living in a cave. I still go out there into the real world, but I just watch my back. You have to watch your back. You can't just trust anybody. And people trust too much, and they get burned, and then they get upset.
Where I messed up with school, with PACE in college, was mostly because of the financial aid and because I didn't do my own homework, and I was naive because I was a little dumbass kid back then. And I got a bunch of like private loans, and I'm like, yeah, I could pay this off really quick, whatever. And they don't really like help you. They're kind of like, okay, here, this is what you do, sign up and whatever. And like, they don't give a shit. You can just tell by their face. And so that really set me back big time financially. And on top of that, I failed a couple classes, so then I had to retake them, and it's like another 5 Gs each. And that really fucked up big time. So to your earlier point, yeah, school is definitely something you got to navigate carefully through. And like, they should actually teach that shit in high school on how to financially navigate yourself through school, not like, shit that you might never actually learn.
I don't think it's their place, and I don't think they want to. I think that I think it's up to the individual teacher to say, like, if I was a teacher in high school, I probably would have said that. But I don't think the school themselves would say anything, because these state schools and, they all want to make money, so they would never promote. I don't know. I feel like, why would they? They wouldn't care,
Either way, they make money. People still go.
What I wanted to say was, I'm going to tell you another quick situation. You probably forgot this because this happened so long ago. But again, this is important to know, and this is something I've learned in school. When I got my associate's degree in Brookdale, I was preparing to transfer to Rutgers University. Now, I got denied from Rutgers University. And my cousin gave me some advice. He says when he got placed on hold, he was going to St. John's University. He got placed on hold. He made an appointment, and he spoke to someone on why. And he was like enthused, and he wanted to show that he gave a shit. And he shows like, tell them you care and that you want to go to their school so badly. So I started doing research on Rutgers, and I said, I want to be like this guy and this guy, So I did all this research, and I called and I made an appointment. So one thing that I did is I took a suit. I wore a suit and tie and everything like that. And you should have seen when I got into the room, the way they looked at me was very different than the way they were looking at all the other students, because all the other students were just like wearing a t-shirt,
They all look like bums.
Yeah, they weren't even like sure who I was. I don't even think they thought I was like somebody who wanted to be a student. So they're like, "Oh, you're Michael? Oh, yeah, okay, come in." And I think I even got to cut somebody in line. So I go in there, and she's like, "So what's going on?" And I tell her like, I'm so disappointed that I got rejected, and I'm dying to go to this school. So tell me what I have to do to get in. Like, I'll do whatever it takes, And I started like mentioning the history, but I don't think she cared about that. She's like, "All right, let me check, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Mike, we'd love to have you here. The problem is you're just missing a language class and this one advanced math class. And if you take those 2 classes, you know what I mean? We'll get you in." So I'm like, okay, great. So when I go back to Brookdale, and mind you, I already have my associate's degree at that point. So they used to have restriction on classes that you could register for. They used to say, oh, you're not allowed to take this class because you didn't do the prerequisite, you know. So now that I have my associate's degree, they said you could sign up for any class you want, right? So I signed up for 2 math classes because you need both of them combined to transfer over to Rutgers as one class, and that's the class I need to get into the school. So I, signed up for both classes, and they let me sign up for these both classes. And out of nowhere, my professor says to me in the end of class, "Oh, Michael Milman, yeah, listen, come speak to me." And then he says, "Here's this letter. You're supposed to go see somebody about this." So I go see somebody, and she says to me, "Oh, you're not allowed to take this class. You can't take 2 math classes at the same time," or something like that, and you need the prerequisite. I don't remember exactly what happened.
The rules are so dumb.
Yeah, so there was a lot of rules, and I was like, but you guys said that when you graduate, you can take any class you want, right? No, this is the way it works here. Fine, can I at least get a refund? They said, no, because it's too late. I'm like, but it's not my fault. So basically, I went to the math lab. I spoke to this guy, spoke to that guy, spoke to this guy, spoke to that guy. I made my case. I was on the phone for hours. I did. And I'm like, but it's not my fault. I understand if I dropped out on my own or if I moved to another country, whatever it is, it's my fault. I should get a refund, right? No. And then I remember you were buddy-buddy because you went to that school. And you became buddy-buddy with this one woman, right? She was helping you out. Yeah. So you gave me her business card. And you said, just contact her. She's very nice. And maybe she'll help you out. So I contacted her. She heard my side of the story. Next thing I know, I get a letter saying, you got a full refund for the class and blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And the lesson that taught me is that you never give up, no matter what. Right? Because all the odds could be against you. It could be exhausting. And also, it's good to know people. Like, I knew you, and you knew her. And because you hooked me up. And because of that,
still waiting for that.
I got a refund. So the point I'm trying to make is that's a very valuable lesson I've learned going to school. And that had nothing to do with actually sitting in class and paying attention.
Yeah. I had to, she asked me for a favor after that, and I had to.
What was the favor?
Pay it forward.
What was the favor?
Just just be happy that you got the refund, and I got your back.
Okay, whatever.
But I think also, I'm not sure if it was the same lady. Maybe it was a different professor. I don't know. I think she was the director of. But basically, I took a class, and I was really focused. It was economics class, 4 days a week, 4 hours a day, 4 weeks, some shit like that. And it was only for 3 weeks actually. Sorry, so it was mad long, basically full time for 3 weeks, jam packed. I actually passed it. I did really well, and I remember some stuff from it to this day, just one little part. And then I see, I'm like, oh shit, it doesn't count. It doesn't count as transferable credit. So I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? So I went up, I spoke to them, and I'm like, yeah, listen, blah, 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 blah. And so she actually changed it, because I told her that, it was not clear when you sign up for the class. And they actually gave me full credit for it, and I think that they changed it on the actual website. So I felt that's a pretty good college accomplishment that I experienced once maybe, and that's it.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I felt good about it. I needed that self pat on the back.
Why don't you go ahead and just literally do that?
Pat myself on the back.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Very nice.
Yeah. I've never done that before.